Simon Moutaïrou, congratulations on this really powerful and moving film. And thank you for being here with us this evening to talk about it. You don't hear well? Is that better? Okay, I'm sorry. So I'll start again. Simon Moutaïrou, thank you so much for being here this evening to talk about this film, which is so powerful and so moving.
Thank you very much. And I'm alone tonight, but it's a collective work. So my team, thank you too for the thank you.
And thank you to my colleagues for at the Maison Française for hosting this screening. So maybe we can talk for a few minutes and then open the floor to discussion and reflection from everybody else here. And I think our plan is to speak in English, but if necessary, we can go back and forth to French. So I think as my colleague Shani Pierre was explaining, up to now, you've mostly been a screenwriter, scénariste, and this is your first feature film. So I'm wondering if you have always planned to direct yourself, and if you've known for a long time that you wanted to make a film about slavery and resistance to slavery in the French Empire.
I'm French and Beninese. My father is from Benin. And when I was a teenager, I was in Ouida, which is a city of Benin, known for the Vodun days of January. And on the beach of Ouida, there is a red stone door called the Door of Non-Return, which commemorates all these families, men, women, children, deported in the slave ships for unknown destinations. And I always try to remember the words of Edouard Glissant, who was saying, when you enter the slave ship, there is no God, no scarification, no cosmogony who can prepare you for what you're going to live. It's one of the darkest points of human history. So I was a teenager and I was watching that door, and my uncles in Benin told me the stories of Dahomey, ancient kingdom of Dahomey, and I was in my teenage life, sport, girls, but I remember the rage hearing the inequality between peoples. And after that, thanks to a friend from basketball, he made me discover Maryse Condé, Patrick Chamoiseau, Édouard Glissant, Aimé Césaire, Toni Morrison, and all this literature that gave me pride. The maroons, those who break the chains, those who confront the colonial order, those who escaped the sugarcane plantations. So I was 17 and I remember the pride. And I think this movie was born at that time. I didn't know at that time, but this literature inspired the movie.
So there's a very important body of French literature, as you mentioned, that examines the history of slavery and of resistance. But your film is really the first commercial feature film on this topic. There have been other films made on a small budget and not widely shown. One TV series from a couple of decades ago, but why do you think that it has taken so long to make a grand public style film on this topic? Clearly, we can make some comparisons here to the US, where there have been quite a few recent films on this theme.
Yeah, they say more than 70 fictions in the United States, movies and TV shows about slavery. And it's true that in France there is 2 movies, small movies, who didn't have the, who wasn't lucky enough to be strong distributed, but beautiful movies. Sucre amer de Christian Lara, from Christian Lara, and a movie about, from Guy Deslauriers, co-written with Patrick Chamoiseau, named Passage du Milieu.
The Middle Passage.
Yeah, yeah. And it is, I had the honor in Reed Hall, Columbia in Paris. Reed Hall, because we had a screening in Reed Hall, and the director was here. And I was very moved. And my movie began where his movie ends, because his movie is about slave ship. So you can have a double feature with 2 movies. But there is a taboo in France. France became rich with slavery and colonization. It's a fact. It's not politics. It's just a fact. And so the taboo is very strong. There is not an there isn't an Afro community economically, culturally strong like in the United States, in France, and I think that explains the whole, the lack of representation. It's sad to say that, but this is the first French movie where you can hear the code noir, the black code, never heard before in a French movie. The punishments, because I know in American representation of slavery movies, there is a question of violence, the question of pornography showing violence, but there were 70 fictions. In France, only 3. So yes, there is a French taboo. I'm very, very proud of the fact that the movie bring a great debate in France, bring the term marooning, to be a maroon, to escape the plantation, but we can extend that to escape from any form of oppression. It can be an oppression due to your gender, your color of your skin, your religion. We live in a world where peoples are still oppressed. So the fact that marooning, the fact that there is always a possibility to say no to an oppression, that was a great debate in France since September, since the release.
It sounds as though it's a film, it's a historical film about the past, but you're also thinking about it as an intervention in the present, in debates about race, about marginalization in France today. Was that part of your thinking in making the film? Has that been a factor in the reception of the film?
Yeah, yes, of course. That's why I gave the movie this title, No Chains, No Masters. It's a title for the present, not a title for the past. There is things, same politics in France now as United States now. Like, for example, a minister says, okay, stop saying colonization was bad. But I think if you are strong as an individual, if you are strong as a country, you have the strength to confront your past, the glorious pages and the crimes of the past. If you are weak, you don't want to confront the past. But if you are strong, you have a country, all origins, all religions, and collectively you turn to your past and you confront it without looking away. So that's why that was one of my goals with the movie.
So the film is set in the Île-de-France in the middle of the 18th century. Île-de-France today, Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. And I think it's probably fair to say that the history of the Indian Ocean in general, this colony is less well known than perhaps the history of France's colonies in the Caribbean and their history of slavery and resistance. So I'm wondering what led you to choose this location. Why make a film specifically? Because it is so specific, so rooted in the landscape, the specific history of Île-de-France.
It's a how to say that? It's I don't know if the word destinal exists in English, but it's like fate. In 2009, I was spending a few days in Mauritius. So I was in the southwest of the island. I wasn't working, I was on holidays. And in the southwest, I see a mountain called Le Morne Brabant. And it's a 500-meter mountain in front of the Indian Ocean. And I meet an old Creole lady, because in the southwest of Mauritius lives a Creole community, Afro, Francophone, and descendants of slaves. And I meet an old Creole lady, and I ask her the story behind the mountain, because I see people commemorate the mountain, that there is an eternal flame, that the Rasta community is entretenir, I don't know how to say it,
Takes care of.
Yeah. And she told me a story, a very popular story in the Creole community, which is basically the story of the movie. How at the time of slavery, maroons, month after month, years after year, gathered or found themselves at the top of the mountain and rediscover their pride, their dignity, love, their bodies, their souls. And one day, French army, they are surrounded by French army, and they choose to jump rather than surrender. They choose to die free rather than slave. And I was very, very moved by the story of this lady, and I made myself a mission to turn it into a movie.
It's an incredible and spectacular location. I think it's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and there are artworks and monument there to this.
It's important to say that in 2009, 2008, animal remains were founded. I don't know. They found animal remains at the top of the mountain. They found stones set in circle, the cave scene, and they found signs of human occupation. So the UNESCO said it's a great site of marooning. And there is an oral tradition about the leap. But the leap is between history and legend. You know, it's a very touristic island. So when I discovered the story, I began to see the island like a crime of Eden. The nature is so beautiful, the greens, the blues, so pure. It's like a paradise. And working with Mauritian historians with the movie, I was seeing the blood. So from this contrast, the movie was born.
I was going to ask you about that. The film seems quite deeply researched. So did you worked with historians in developing the screenplay?
Everybody was making fun of me because I had like 30 historians, and I wanted more because there was a lack of representation in French cinema. So I wanted to be the closer possible to the truth. So I had a lot of historians in Senegal, griots in Senegal who helped me. I had Khadim Silla, who is a specialist of Wolof culture. And we were working with Khadim. And sometimes we were asking ourselves questions like the déesse Mamgesu, the goddess, the warrior goddess. How does she appear to people? And he was calling the griot in Dakar, because it's not in the books. Only the griot know that. And the first answer from a griot was he can appear like a woman serpent, a woman snake, like a snake woman. But I say, I don't have the money of Hollywood, so perhaps if the special effects will not be so. After that, another griot said, because it's a pantheon. It's a
Pantheon?
moving pantheon because it's not, you know, selon les zones.
According to the region?
According to region, the appearances of gods and goddess can change. So the second one say it can appear like a tourbillon d'eau.
Right, like a whirlwind, a water spiral, whirlpool. Thank you.
Yeah. So it was not. It was difficult to connect emotionally with, water. And one day a griot told us Mam Gesu can appear with the face of somebody you loved and died, and it was incredible. And not only Senegal but France, Mauritius, lots of historians, anthropologists helped me.
It's true that when you're making a film, questions arise about how to visualize things that you don't perhaps necessarily think about in other media. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about the decisions that you made in representing slavery. As you alluded to before, there's always the question of how to depict violence, how to depict torture. So perhaps you could talk about what you wanted to achieve and what you wanted to avoid.
It was very difficult, and I remember a dinner before the shooting with friends of mine who are historians who are very committed. They were shouting on me, "You can't represent violence like that. It's pornography," and others saying you have to go more violence. So it was very. The question of representing violence was one of my major stakes shooting the movie. And in fact, the answer, it's my answer. It's not, the answer came from the fact that I had a scene, the cave scene came first in the writing. And the second scene in my writing was the scene where she heals the scar. And I was lucky that the actress who is playing the healer is the little sister of Thomas Sankara. So, and she's a great theater actress in Burkina Faso. And I was disturbed by showing violence, not showing violence. And Odile told me, if you want the audience to understand the healing, you have to show the wounds. So she convinced me to be frontal, to show violence in a direct way. Yeah.
I'm going to open things up to the everybody else here in a minute. So if there are questions that you'd like to ask or points that you'd like to make, please think about those.
Before anybody leaves, this film opens up on Friday at 1.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Thank you a lot. Because at the beginning we only had one theater in New York. Now we have three. We have Los Angeles. We have Washington. So it's spreading. So it's cool if you pass the word to your friends, and it's important because it's the way for us to show the movie more.
So if you'd like to ask a question, there are microphones that are going to be circulating. So just raise your hand.
Yeah. Hello. I was curious about the Mauritius aspect. I've worked with Mauritians and in Mauritius, all over Africa. And I was wondering what was your feeling about that story, that resistance movement in the culture today? Because to be quite honest, working with Mauritians of all, you know, descendant of slaves, Asians, it's a big mix. I didn't have the impression that that story or that feeling was present today.
Oh, it's terrible the fact that it's the same hierarchy.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's terrible. It's like in Martinique. You know what's happening in Martinique, in Guadeloupe. It's the same structure in the society, inherited from that times. But I don't want to bring everything to my movie, but it's true that the movie was released at the same time in Mauritius and in France. And there is a great debate there after the movie. It's seriously, it's not because it's my movie, but I think it's the first time there is a big national debate about history of Mauritius. It's very moving for me because I didn't expect that.
So the movie has been shown in Mauritius,
Yeah.
and you were there for screenings. And
No,
discussions?
I wanted. It was important for me that the movie was releasing the same day, Mauritius and
Right.
France. But I had to be for promotion in France.
Uh-huh.
But I'm going to Mauritius in 10 days to show the movie and to continue the debate. Yeah.
Hi, I was wondering what was the hardest scene to film? Because I feel like all of them are so difficult for the actors, but you as the director, like what was the hardest for you?
Emotionally?
Yes.
Last one.
Actually like both. Emotionally, but also like technically.
Technically is the death of Madame la Victoire, the death of the slave hunter, because we should have ended the shooting of this sequence at 11 p.m. Okay, my actress Camille Cotta is a star in France, so I love her too. And so we say, okay, Camille, she's good since the beginning of the shoot. She's very strong physically, jumping. Okay, so let's finish at 11 p.m. Okay, but there was a lot of technical problem with the rain and the storms, and because we were creating the rain and the storm, and there was a lot of problems, and we are 3 a.m. Okay, Camille, she has 4 couvertures,
Blankets.
4 blankets, and 3 persons au sèche-cheveux.
With hair dryers.
Voilà. And my producer, I had great producers, okay? But my producer came to me, say 4 hours de dépassement, more,
Yes.
with Camille, who can't talk because she's you're crazy. She's gonna abandon us. And I go to Camille and say, Camille, I don't have the scene. And she say, let's go. But she's very weak physically. And we end the sequence at 6 a.m. And I remember I saw Camille in the car leaving the set, and I was so grateful, so for her because she helped me take the sequence. And emotionally, it's the last one because I wanted to shoot the last sequence at the last day of the shoot. You know, usually we. And there was a Creole figurant. Figurants, Creole figurants, my Senegalese actors. We were exhausted, but we had this faith that brought us together. And
So the extras,
the extras. playing the role of their ancestors. So it was an incredible day. It was I know I remember this day all my life. It was very powerful.
So the scene of the death of Madame Victoire. So that's filmed in a studio, a set, or are you out in the rainforest?
No. Mauritian people told us before the shoot, if you shoot in May and June, its weather will be perfect because we wedding are in May and June. Okay. Cyclones, hurricanes, like a crane falling in the mud, and I see my producer with 30 persons trying to, my actors injured, my Ibrahima, which is one of the greatest Senegalese actors, Ibrahima Mbaye, who is playing Massamba. He was here, the uncle, everywhere. But I think it was the fate of this shoot to be difficult, to be like that in the mud. And I have a very brave team. They were on a mission, so it was powerful.
Hi. I was wondering what the specific significance was of the phrase "Fibumi Diami Doge" and like your decisions in using that history as well.
The specific?
Like the significance of the phrase, like what it means.
Okay. The place where live those who are free. Yeah. And the second part of your question, sorry.
How did you learn the history of? Like, is that a phrase that was used?
Oh yeah. In fact, in Mauritius, in Port Louis, which is the main city of Mauritius, there is a neighborhood called Kanyolof, because a neighborhood called Kanyolof, because there was a lot of descendants of slaves living in Mauritius. So this word, Fibumi Doge, in Wolof, was really the name of the Mont Brabant, the mountain existing at the southwest of Mauritius. The name the Wolof enslaved community was this one. Yeah.
Hi. Concerning the chants, the songs that the actors were singing, how did you pick them? Were there songs that were existing already, or what's the story?
It's a mix. It's a mix between ancient Wolof songs, Senegalese anthem, national anthem, and my imagination. I took the three and I mixed to build a song.
Merci beaucoup pour le film. I was just wondering if you could talk a bit more about the spirituality aspect in the film, the religion, the Catholicism versus the, I'm not going to butcher the name, but, and the impact that had, how much of that was based in history and what you felt was a bit of more artistic liberty.
Perhaps I will need help to have translation
Sure,
for that.
yeah.
There is animist African religions have been a lot caricatured,
Stereotyped, caricatured.
by Hollywood. Stereotyped by Hollywood. And me, I know voodoo because it's the religion of my family. And with the documentation, I discover Wolof animism, which is like a relationship of cousinship with voodoo. And I know we had to jump. I think spiritual movies, when you are with a distance, it doesn't work. You have to jump on it. So we are respecting ceremonies and rituals during the scene, but off the scene. The Mauritian Creole community has the same animism, inherited from the Wolof. So there was really a spiritual climate on the set. And what helped me is that Ibrahima, who is playing Massamba, and Anna, who is playing Mati, they share the beliefs of their characters. So at the beginning, normally what you learn when you are initiated, you mustn't repeat it, and you mustn't put it in the movie. But when Anna played the trance scene, the trance scene, it was a real trance. Because a few seconds before shooting, I see her eyes are not the same. And Ibrahima told me, the mother of Anna told me she was a very spiritual person. And something happened. She wasn't able to perform a second shot, so it's a second take, so it's a first take. And from now, Ibrahima told me spirits came, so let's shoot the real prayers, because I wrote false prayers to respect their faith. But since that moment, Ibrahima and Anna was okay too. All the prayers, the sacred language you've seen and heard are the real prayers. So
you decided to cast 2 Senegalese actors in these principal roles and have them communicate in Wolof. Can you talk about that a little bit, about that decision to have them have the lead characters speak in Wolof?
Yes, for me it's like I'm 44 now, but when I was young, there was a convention that Romans speak English. Everybody speaks English. Now I think in 2024 you have to respect the languages of the characters. So I knew I had to do my casting not in Paris, but in Dakar. So in January 23 we went to Dakar for like a week, preparing this week months before. And I knew Ibrahima was the only actor to play Massamba, because he's strong, he's fragile, he has everything. He has sensitivity, he can play with all the spectre. And when I met him, I knew he was Massamba. And it was very long for Mati, because we saw 500 girls in Dakar. And at the end, 11 was left. But Anna, she has fires. Oh, I'm thinking of David Lynch. Fires walk with me. David Lynch. Anna has fire in her veins, in her soul, so I knew it was her.
And she's remarkable in the film.
Thanks. I'm very proud of her performance.
I have the microphone. Hi, thank you so much for the movie.
Thank you.
Thank you as well for your words about being strong as individuals and as a country. How was the reception of the movie in l'Île Maurice? Because it got released the same day as in France. Do you know a bit more about that? Like, and also like in general, how that history lives in the country, on the island, among the people. Also, it's very touristic. How everything is related. Because so much blood run on that island. How do the people live and experience that history there? Thank you so much.
When I'm now DVD, I love making of. When I was a cinema student, I watched a lot of making of. And the story of the Mont Brabant, the real story, not my movie, the real story, it could be an incredible documentary. Because I went to Chamarel, Rivière Noire, Le Mans, which are the villages in the southwest where the Creole community lives. And when I said to them, I'm making a movie about slavery, they said, no, we mustn't talk about that. The Creole, the old Creole men and women, I mean, the violence of taboo is in their minds. They didn't want this story to be told. So this is a level of refoulement.
Repression.
Yeah.
Self-censorship.
Yeah. And that's why c'est un peu gênant.
It's painful. It's difficult.
No, it's difficult for me because I don't want to put it on the movie. But it's not. So let's say it's not my movie, but it's true that there is circle of women in the southwest talking about the movie, demanding a public debate. There is. I just heard that 2 days ago. A family of rich propriétaires terriens. Landowners, descendant from the French settlers and the sugarcane owners, who want to speak, want to have this debate too. I don't know. I don't want to talk for the Mauritian because I'm not Mauritian and I don't live there. But something is happening. It's sure. Something is really happening here, and we are all very proud of it.
Has a very complex history. It was a Dutch colony, a French colony, a British colony, multi-layered history of forced migration, very complex society. But it sounds like your film is stirring up some things.
But it's a bit sad that a film, it's history, it's politics, it's social, it's economics. It shows that the road is very long.
And how about the reception in France?
France was
it's stirring up anything there.
A few enemies, lots of friends. I made few enemies and lots of friends, but it was very, very moving for me because politics get into the debate. Also cultural figures. You know, I love literature. You know that authors I love, I admire. Ont pris ma défense. Ont pris ma défense. Defend me.
The writers have
protected me. And but it was good because debate and intense debate allowed the movie to be a success for the young generation. Lots of teachers took their 14 years old, 16 years old students to watch the movie, and it was my main dream. Is that the young generation in France had the chance to see the movie and to see her own history, and I think the young go to theaters when there is a polemic. So I think the polemic helped us to touch the younger generation.
On the subject of literature, you mentioned when you were introducing the film that it's Maryse Condé-esque.
Mm-hmm.
What did you mean by that?
What I loved when I discovered the books of Maryse Condé is pride, is the fact that certain lives are worth less than others. This is the world we live in. We have to explain our children that we are living in a world where certain lives worth less than others. So, and what do we do with that? The dignity of Maryse, the dignity of her characters. This is very inspiring.
Is there one or two last questions?
Bouleversant. J'ai pas la traduction, mais sorry for this translation. I was really moved by this movie for many reasons. You mentioned the violence. I think the violence here is shown necessarily because it reflects a reality that existed and probably still exists in some parts of the world. I think one of the question I have was regarding the other type of violence that exists is the psychological. I saw the chains, but I also saw how imprisoned the actors were through their existence in this movie. The topic of suicide raised at the end, but also when Mati tries to end her lives before they take her away. I think my question is, how do you hope for the current generation to take away from this movie, outside of the educational part on these populations and their history, in this troubled time that we are currently living in? What are the messages and the hopes that you have for them to be able to manage and face absolutely different type of imprisonment, but still being able to free themselves from politics or the environment they are living in?
I think, and without being demagogic, they don't need the movie. I think this generation, when it comes to oppression, when it comes to identity, when it comes to emancipation, when it comes to being oneself, yourself, they have the power. They have something that I think my generation didn't have. But what I like is to make a pass, like in basketball, of marooning, of a concept. This history and this concept, I think, can be used by the next generation to build his thinking. Yeah.
I also really appreciated the film's emphasis on mental health, trauma, and how people experience that. And I think that also resonates today with people, feeling a lot of anxiety, as well as political activism tempered with feelings of anxiety. I'm sure it connects with young people for that reason. Okay, maybe one last question.
Hi, as a teacher, I wondered how you deal with the white fragility that this might trigger for other people, and if there's any discussions of reparations when you have discussions about this film.
Sorry, you speak too fast.
La représentation des personnages blancs, la fragilité blanche, est-ce qu'il y a des réactions de la part de jeunes qui voient le film?
In what way? What do you think it could raise?
Well, when white people have to face their history and what their ancestors have done, many times they put up a wall or they in some way feel threatened and attacked. So how do you deal with that? Being the person who made this film, it must trigger a lot of that for a lot of people who have profited and benefited and reached the wealth that they have because of the enslavement of Black people. And then in those same conversations, are there any talks about reparations or giving the people who were descendants of people that were enslaved, giving them some kind of reparations for the trauma that they faced?
I think France is late comparing to states on the reparation debate, but it began in 2024. Not my movie, but before my movie. And what I think the thing that I'm very proud about the movie is I made the movie to reconcile. I think what I love with cinema, that really cinema, the most popular art form of our times, it can build a catharsis. My goal was to have the rage of the plantation, and we can call it a suicide, but I want it to be very poetic and soft scene, to go to this emotion, and this emotion washes and reunites everybody in the theater. So these feelings, I think, I talked with audience. At the beginning, they have this guilt or recognition. It happens, But at the end, I think the characters don't move us because of the color of their skin. They move us because they are humans, and their resilience is spectacular. So I'm really, really proud that my team and I managed to do that, to go to a catharsis and to an emotion that reunites. Voilà.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Simon, for being here with us to discuss the film, and thank you to everyone for coming and for your questions.
Yeah.
So you said you wanted the youth to see it.
Good.